All right, so welcome. This is Magic Mike and the Swag. With introducing Magic Mike over here.
And introducing Swag over here.
Boom, and we're continuing the series that we started. We're breaking down every NBA franchise, and we're breaking down the best players to play each position, right? So we're coming up with a starting five, and then the next best player we're going to throw on our bench is the sixth man. And today we are going to talk about the Grizzlies.
Rawr.
I like that. So we're just going to kick this thing off. We're going to start right out the gate with the best point guard to ever play for the Grizzlies. Now there are a few, honorable mentions here, right? Mike Bibby, he played for the Grizzlies. He was solid. Held it down.
NBA player now.
What's that?
You see that?
What?
Mike Bibby.
He looks like a bulldog.
Yeah.
Beast
coming in.
So Bibby, they got white chocolate, which actually he went there and Mike Fratello turned him into, slowed him down.
White chocolate?
He went from white chocolate to like
mushy chocolate.
Yeah, white tiramisu. But anyway, so both those players are good. Steve Francis was drafted by the Grizzlies, but refused to move to Vancouver, so he was forced to trade him for Bibby. All great point guards, but none of them are as good as Mike Conley.
Largest contract at the time.
Right, which is crazy, right? But he deserves it. And the thing with Mike Conley is he's probably the most underrated player in the NBA.
Oh, absolutely.
Nobody ever talks about this dude.
Nope.
But he doesn't really have any weaknesses in his game except for maybe his health, right?
Yeah, he seems to be a little injury prone lately, but...
Better than that, he holds it down. Never in the All-Star conversation.
Nope.
When they're talking about who are the cornerstones of this team, they don't tend to talk about him like they probably should. But Conley holds it down. He's clutch. He's been great for him in the playoffs before, and again, when he's healthy, he's their dude. All right, so we're moving right on to our two guard.
Let's see it.
We're jumping in. We're gonna say Eddie Jones.
Okay.
Right. Eddie Jones was great. He could shoot. He could dunk. He was kind of your prototypical 90s shooting guard, right? Kind of the right after Jordan, everybody wanted to kind of be the all-around kind of slashing two guard who could pull up and shoot. And he was great. He was a stud, and he was on that team as they were building it up. So right after it was an expansion team and it started up. It's hard to create a culture and to get some momentum and actually do some things, especially when you're in the West. Eddie Jones had to endure that, but he held it down. He was a solid contributor to them. He was their star player for a bit. Eddie Jones is our two guard for the Memphis Grizzlies. Moving on to our small forward. You want to?
Rudy Gay.
Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay had some good years with the Grizzlies.
He did.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
They had a solid team. They just couldn't quite get over the hump.
Yeah.
But Rudy Gay was great. He was a wing that could do everything. And he was solid, and he was kind of their dude for a bit. So Rudy Gay, you're holding down the 3 spot. Jumping to power forward, we're going Pau Gasol, right? A young Pau Gasol, right? Still kind of pre-Spurs, right? Pre-Lakers, pre-Bulls, Pau Gasol though, kind of like a broke man's Tim Duncan, right? Very fundamentally sound. Could run well enough. Very disciplined. It holds his hands straight up. Got the big old long, arms, and he would get kind of the Bill Russell blocks where he's not swatting it in the 6th row that he stands. Right, but he's keeping it in play. Very smart, very methodical. A little bit whiny, but nice power forward for him. Which leads us to the center spot.
Coolest thing about this
is
you trade one brother, you get another brother, and he ends up being the best center on our list, which is
Marc Gasol, right? The beastly Gasol brother, right? He's
a tough one.
Yeah, it's kind of like when your little brother turns out to be huge and has to defend you. That's Marc Gasol. and he's been a little injury prone as of late. But when healthy, dude's one of the best centers in the league.
Absolutely.
I mean, you talk about Joel Embiid, you talk about Karl Anthony Towns, you talk about any of these centers that are crushing it right now. Marc Gasol can hold his own with any of them.
Absolutely.
Gasol's he's a stud, absolute stud. So that rounds out our starting five.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we need a bench player just in case one of these players gets hurt, because they are pretty injury prone.
Yeah.
Right. This Grizzlies squad. So we are going with Zebo. Right. So Zebo, if it wasn't for Powell, Zebo would for sure be starting, which obviously. But Zebo was a stud, especially when he got to the Grizzlies. Really seemed like he hit his stride. When he was in Portland and when he was with the Clippers, you'd see glimpses of it, and you're like, oh wow, he can shoot a little bit. He bangs inside, and he's kind of a bigger guy, but it doesn't seem to matter. But it never kind of worked its way out. It always seemed to almost work, but it was more of a hindrance than anything. He fit right in with the Grizzlies in the grindhouse, where they just really just pounded it inside, and in an era where you're supposed to stretch the floor out, you got two dominant big guys in Zebo and Marc Gasol, and they were still able to make it work year after year after year, and they were always in the hunt, fourth or sixth seed, holding it down. So mad love to Zebo and the Grizzlies, but that's our list. That's the